In the autumn of 1943, deep within the dense jungles of Bougainville Island, a Japanese soldier named Takeshi Yamamoto made a discovery that would shatter everything he had been taught about warfare. He was counting bullets, not organizing them, not distributing them, counting them like a miser counts gold. 11 rounds. That's all he had left. 11 cartridges between him and death. But what he saw across the jungle clearing would haunt him for the rest of his life. American Marines, just 200 meters away, were doing something that seemed impossible. They were firing their weapons not carefully, not sparingly, but continuously. That terrible hammering sound, the Browning automatic rifle, never stopped. 20 rounds in 3 seconds. Reload. 20 more. Again and again and again. Yamamoto did the math in his head. In the time it took him to fire his 11 precious rounds, one American squad had fired over 500. 500 rounds while he counted 11. That's when he realized something that Japanese propaganda had never prepared him for. Something that would determine the outcome of not just this battle, but the entire Pacific War. He wasn't fighting American soldiers. He was fighting American factories. Before we dive into the brutal mathematics that decided World War II in the Pacific, I need to ask you something important. This channel explores the untold stories of history that textbooks ignore. The real reasons wars are won and lost. Not propaganda. Not glory. Just raw, devastating truth. If you're still here, you're not like everyone else. You understand that some truths, no matter how uncomfortable, must be told. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of history truth seekers who aren't afraid to confront reality. And tell me in the comments, what state are you watching from? At what time? Now, let me tell you what happened when 11 rounds faced 500. His Arisaka rifle pressed against his shoulder. He has 11 rounds left. 11 bullets for 3 more days of fighting. He counts them obsessively, touching each cartridge in his ammunition pouch like prayer beads. Around him, his squad does the same. 60 rounds per man, that was the allocation when they deployed 2 weeks ago. Now most have fewer than 20. Their sergeant had been explicit. Fire only when you see a target. Every shot must count. Ammunition resupply is not coming. The ship carrying their supplies was sunk by American submarines 3 days out from Rabaul. They are alone. Across the jungle clearing, perhaps 200 meters away, American Marines dig foxholes and string communications wire. Yamamoto watches them through gaps in the foliage. He has been taught that Americans are soft, undisciplined, dependent on material comfort. That Japanese spiritual strength will overcome their industrial weakness. That one Japanese soldier equals 10 Americans in combat effectiveness. He believed this once. He is no longer certain. The Marines move with purpose, not the frantic chaos Japanese propaganda promised. They work in shifts. Some dig while others stand guard, weapons ready. They do not look weak. They look professional. And they have so many supplies. Yamamoto watches them unload crates from trucks that somehow navigate these impossible jungle trails. Ammunition boxes, food containers, medical supplies, equipment he cannot even identify. The Americans stack these crates carelessly, as if abundance is normal, as if running out is impossible. His own squad has been rationing rice for 4 days. Each man receives a handful morning and evening, boiled with whatever plants they can forage. 2 men have dysentery. 1 has malaria. They have no medicine. The Americans, Yamamoto notices, throw away food. He watches a Marine scrape half-eaten rations into a pit and cover it with dirt. Yamamoto's stomach clenches. That wasted food could feed his entire squad for a day. But it is the sound that truly unsettles him. That rapid hammering that echoes through the jungle at odd intervals. Not the measured crack of rifle fire. Something else. Something automatic. Continuous. Profligate. His sergeant had warned them. The Americans have automatic rifles. Many of them. Not just machine guns in fixed positions, but rifles that fire continuously in the hands of ordinary soldiers. Yamamoto tries to imagine this. A rifle that shoots 20 times without reloading. The idea seems wasteful, tactically wrong. How can soldiers maintain accuracy with such weapons? How can they conserve ammunition? But then he remembers. The Americans do not need to conserve ammunition. They have crates of it stacked like firewood. Enough to waste. Enough to spray into the jungle without seeing targets. The afternoon sun drops toward the horizon. The jungle darkens. Night will come soon, and with it, the possibility of action. Yamamoto checks his rifle again. 11 rounds. He must make each one matter because no more are coming. The attack order comes at 0300 hours. Yamamoto and his squad are to probe the American position, determine strength, withdraw if resistance is heavy. A reconnaissance in force. The sergeant passes the word in whispers. No firing until I give the order. Conserve ammunition. Make every shot count. They move through the jungle in darkness, practicing the silent movement drilled into them during training. 12 men, each carrying fewer than 20 rounds. 240 rounds total for the entire squad. In Japanese tactical doctrine, this should be sufficient for a brief engagement. Each soldier is trained to achieve first-round hits. Accuracy over volume. Precision over waste. They approach within 50 meters of the American perimeter. Yamamoto can see the silhouettes of foxholes, hear the quiet murmur of American voices. His heart pounds. 11 rounds. Choose your targets carefully. The sergeant raises his hand, prepares to signal the attack. Then everything explodes into noise and violence. Yamamoto never learns what triggered the American response. Perhaps a sentry heard movement. Perhaps they had some detection equipment. The reason does not matter. What matters is the sound. That terrible hammering sound that splits the night. Not the crack of rifles. The continuous roar of automatic fire. Tracer rounds arc through the darkness like deadly fireflies. Red streaks slashing through the jungle at chest height. The sound comes from multiple positions. 3, 4, maybe 5 automatic weapons firing simultaneously. Yamamoto throws himself flat, pressing into the mud, as bullets snap overhead. The volume of fire is incomprehensible. Not measured bursts, not careful aimed shots. Continuous sheets of lead hosing down the jungle. Trees splinter, branches fall. The air itself seems torn apart by metal. The sergeant tries to organize a response. Yamamoto sees him rise to one knee, rifle at shoulder, searching for targets in the muzzle flash strobes. He fires once, twice, then the automatic fire finds him. The sergeant crumples without a sound. Yamamoto pulls his rifle tight against his shoulder, searching for something to shoot at. But there are no clear targets. Only muzzle flashes in the darkness. Impossible to pinpoint through the vegetation. He fires anyway, 1 round at a flash point. The sound of his single shot is swallowed by the roar of American automatic weapons. 9 rounds left. Around him, his squadmates return fire sporadically. Individual rifle shots against that wall of automatic fire. It is like throwing pebbles at a waterfall. The disparity is so vast it feels unreal. How can they have so much ammunition? How can they sustain this rate of fire? Yamamoto's training said automatic weapons burn through ammunition quickly, making them impractical for extended combat. But the Americans do not stop. They fire in long bursts, pause, fire again. Someone is shouting orders in English. The fire shifts, concentrates on another section of jungle. More Japanese soldiers die. Yamamoto realizes with cold clarity that they are not fighting a squad. They are fighting an ammunition depot that shoots. The Americans are not conserving anything. They are not counting rounds. They are spending bullets the way Yamamoto's squad spends breath. Without thought. Without limit. He fires again at a muzzle flash. 8 rounds left. His hands shake. Not from fear, though fear is present. From the recognition that everything he was taught about combat is wrong. Marksmanship does not matter when the enemy can fire 500 rounds to your 11. Training does not matter when weight of fire makes movement impossible. Spiritual strength does not matter when industrial capacity produces unlimited ammunition. The withdrawal order comes in frantic whispers. Fall back. Disengage. Move now. Yamamoto crawls backwards through mud and torn vegetation, his rifle clutched across his chest. 8 rounds remaining. Behind him, the American automatic weapons continue their terrible hammering. Firing at movement, at shadows, at nothing. Just firing because they can. The squad regroups 300 meters back in a depression behind a fallen log. Yamamoto counts heads. 12 men went forward. 7 returned. 5 dead, including the sergeant. And for what? They inflicted no casualties on the Americans. Perhaps wounded 1 or 2. Perhaps none. They have no way to know. The corporal, now the ranking survivor, takes stock. How many rounds does each man have? The answers come in quiet voices. 6 rounds. 9 rounds. 4 rounds. Yamamoto reports 8. Total remaining, 47 rounds for 7 men. Less than 7 rounds each. The corporal's face is invisible in the darkness, but his voice carries defeat. We cannot engage them again. Not directly. We do not have the ammunition to fight Americans who shoot like that. One of the soldiers, a young conscript named Tanaka, asks the question they are all thinking. How do they have so much ammunition? We were told Japan's industrial capacity was superior. The corporal has no answer. None of them do. They were taught that Japanese manufacturing was efficient, that American industry was corrupted by capitalism and racial mixing. But the evidence contradicts the propaganda. The Americans fire automatic weapons as if bullets are free, as if the supply is infinite. As dawn breaks, Yamamoto examines his rifle in the gray light. The Arisaka Type 38. A fine weapon. Accurate, reliable, well-made. Each rifle crafted with care in Japanese arsenals. But it fires 1 round per trigger pull. Bolt action. Practical. Efficient. Designed for an army that must conserve resources. The American automatic rifle, the weapon making that terrible hammering sound, is different. It fires continuously. 20 rounds from a magazine in seconds. Wasteful by Japanese standards. But waste does not matter when you have unlimited supply. Yamamoto realizes something that makes his chest tight. Japanese tactics assume ammunition scarcity. Aimed fire. Fire discipline. Every shot matching. American tactics assume ammunition abundance. Suppressive fire. Area denial. Bullets as a resource to be spent freely. These are not just different tactics. They are different industrial philosophies made manifest in combat. The Japanese approach to warfare is that of a poor nation trying to maximize limited resources through efficiency and training. The American approach is that of a rich nation leveraging overwhelming material advantage. And in this jungle, with 7 rounds per man facing enemies with hundreds, Yamamoto knows which approach wins. The corporal makes a decision. We move to higher ground. Observe American movements. Gather intelligence. Do not engage unless we have clear advantage. We cannot win firefights against their automatic weapons. Not with 7 rounds each. The squad begins moving deeper into the jungle, away from the American positions. Behind them, sporadically, they hear that sound. That hammering that has become the sound of their defeat. American automatic weapons firing test bursts. Firing at nothing. Firing because they can. Yamamoto touches his ammunition pouch. 8 rounds. He will carry these 8 rounds for the next 6 days, never firing unless absolutely necessary. Never wasting, because for him, every bullet is precious. For the Americans, bullets are just another consumable supply. Like food, like water, like air. This disparity, more than tactics or courage or training, will determine who wins this war. 3 days later, Yamamoto's squad occupies a ridge overlooking an American supply route. They have not eaten in 24 hours. Their water is nearly gone. And they still have the same handful of rounds each. 8 rounds for Yamamoto. He has not fired since the night attack. Below them, an American convoy passes. 6 trucks moving slowly along a jungle trail that should not support wheeled vehicles. But the Americans have engineering equipment that transforms jungle into road within hours. Yamamoto watches through gaps in the foliage. Each truck carries supplies under canvas covers. The convoy moves without apparent concern for ambush. Marines walk alongside, weapons ready but posture relaxed. They are confident. Why should they not be? They have enough ammunition to fight off any attack. The corporal studies the convoy through borrowed binoculars. See the last truck. Ammunition. I can see the crates .30 caliber, .50 caliber, grenades. One truck carrying more ammunition than our entire battalion possesses. Yamamoto feels the weight of his 8 rounds. Below, one truck carries thousands, perhaps tens of thousands. The scale of abundance is difficult to comprehend. In Japan, ammunition is allocated carefully. Factories produce what they can with limited raw materials. Distribution is planned. Waste is criminal. Here, the Americans transport ammunition by the truckload through contested jungle as if losing a truck would be merely inconvenient. The corporal lowers the binoculars. We could ambush them, kill the guards, take the supplies. But Yamamoto knows they will not. 7 men with 47 rounds cannot attack a convoy defended by Marines with automatic weapons. Even surprise would not overcome the firepower disparity. The convoy moves past. The Americans do not know they are being watched. Or perhaps they know and do not care. Perhaps they understand that an enemy with no ammunition is no threat. That night, the squad sits in darkness, hungry and exhausted. Tanaka, the young conscript, speaks quietly. My father worked in an arsenal before the war. He told me Japan could produce 500,000 rifle rounds per month. I thought that was impressive. The corporal responds. The Americans probably produce that much in a day. Maybe more. No one disagrees. The evidence of American industrial capacity is everywhere. In their automatic weapons, their trucks, their portable radios, their endless supplies. In the casual way they expend ammunition without counting cost. Yamamoto opens his notebook. He has been keeping a diary, against regulations, but discipline has eroded in the face of survival. He writes by moonlight. Day 17. Still 8 rounds. Watched American convoy today. 1 truck of ammunition contained more than our entire supply. How can we fight an enemy who treats bullets like water? Who fires automatic weapons as if ammunition costs nothing? The sergeant told us Japanese spirit would overcome American material. But spirit does not matter when the enemy has 50 bullets for every one of yours. Does not matter when they can fire continuously while you count each shot. I understand now why we are losing. Not because American soldiers are better, but because American factories are. They can afford to be wasteful because waste does not diminish their capacity. We must conserve because we have nothing to spare. This is not a war of tactics. It is a war of production. And production is not something soldiers can influence. He closes the notebook. 8 rounds. Tomorrow they will try to find food. Maybe contact other Japanese units. Maybe receive orders. But they will not receive ammunition. No resupply is coming. The ships that would bring it are on the bottom of the Pacific, sunk by American submarines. The production that would create it cannot keep pace with consumption. Japan is running out, not just of ammunition, of everything, and the Americans are not. 400 miles away, in a Marine Corps camp on Guadalcanal, Corporal Jack Sullivan cleans his Browning automatic rifle. The bar is heavy, 19 pounds loaded, but Sullivan carries it without complaint. It is the squad's primary automatic weapon, and he has learned to love it. The bar fires the same .30-06 cartridge as the M1 Garand, but from a 20-round box magazine, and it can fire those 20 rounds in less than 3 seconds on full automatic. Sullivan has fired thousands of rounds through this weapon in the 8 months since landing in the Pacific. The barrel is worn. The gas system requires frequent cleaning, but it still works. Still delivers that devastating rate of fire that makes Japanese soldiers keep their heads down. His squad leader, Sergeant Davis, approaches with a canvas bag. Ammo distribution. Sullivan, you get 400 rounds. 400 rounds. Sullivan dumps the bag out. 20 magazines, each holding 20 rounds. 400 .30-06 cartridges weighing approximately 28 pounds. He will carry this load plus his rifle plus water plus rations through jungle combat. And when he fires all 400 rounds, which might take an hour in heavy contact, he will receive more. The supply is not infinite, but it is sufficient that he never thinks about conservation. Davis sees his expression. Problem, Sullivan. No, Sergeant. Just thinking. Back home in Pennsylvania, my dad took me hunting. He gave me 5 rounds for deer season. Said that was enough for any hunter who could shoot straight. 5 rounds had to last the season. Davis nods. Different war. This is not about marksmanship. This is about fire superiority. Your job is not to hit with every round. Your job is to make the enemy unable to move, unable to shoot back, unable to do anything except hide. The bar gives us that capability. Sullivan understands the doctrine. Suppressive fire. The bar gunner does not aim at specific targets unless they present themselves. He aims at likely positions and saturates the area with lead. Tactics designed not for ammunition scarcity but for ammunition abundance. He begins loading magazines. Each round slides into the spring-loaded box with a satisfying click. 20 rounds per magazine. He loads 15 magazines and stores them in pouches and packs. 300 rounds. Enough for sustained fire. Enough to dominate a firefight. Enough that he does not count each bullet. The remaining 5 magazines he leaves for the squad's second bar gunner. The squad has 2 automatic rifles, 40 rounds between them ready to fire, plus M1 Garens for each rifleman. The squad's total ammunition capacity exceeds 1,000 rounds. They can sustain fire that would be impossible for any Japanese unit to match. Davis briefs the squad. We are moving up tomorrow, taking position on the perimeter. Intelligence says Japanese forces are in the area, probing for weak points. If they hit us, we hit back hard. Sullivan, I want that bar singing. Do not conserve. If you see movement, if you hear movement, if you think you see movement, light it up. We have the ammunition. Use it. Sullivan nods. This is doctrine. This is how American forces fight. Not with careful aimed shots, though marksmanship is valued. With overwhelming firepower. With the confidence that comes from knowing supply is assured. That night, Sullivan lies in his tent and thinks about the weapon outside, cleaned and loaded. 400 rounds within reach. Thousands more in the supply depot. Millions more being produced in factories across America. He thinks about Japanese soldiers in the jungle, counting their bullets, rationing their fire. And he understands, though he has never studied economics or industry, that this war is already decided. Not by courage or tactics, but by the simple fact that he has 400 rounds and they have 11. Back on Bougainville, Yamamoto's squad has found a Japanese supply cache. A stroke of luck in their desperate situation. The cache is small, abandoned by another unit during withdrawal. But it contains food, medical supplies, and most precious of all, ammunition. The corporal distributes the rounds carefully. 20 rounds per man. Yamamoto receives his allocation with something approaching joy. 8 plus 20 equals 28 rounds. Wealth beyond imagination after days of counting bullets. The squad's total ammunition rises to 140 rounds. Enough to fight. Enough to engage the Americans if necessary. Enough to survive. Tanaka, holding his new allotment, grins. Now we can fight them properly. The corporal shakes his head. No. Now we can survive longer. Fighting them properly requires more than 20 rounds each. Remember the automatic weapons. Remember the convoy. We have 140 rounds total. An American squad probably has that much ready to fire at any moment, plus hundreds more in reserve. But the ammunition lifts morale. The squad moves with more confidence, knowing they are not completely defenseless. They establish an observation post overlooking an American position, watching patterns of movement, learning routines, looking for vulnerabilities. For 3 days they watch, and what they see confirms Yamamoto's fears. The Americans waste ammunition constantly. Marines fire their weapons to test them. They shoot at targets for practice. One afternoon, Yamamoto watches a group of Marines set up tin cans and shoot at them recreationally, using live ammunition for entertainment. The casual expenditure is staggering. The Marines fire perhaps 50 rounds at tin cans. 50 rounds that accomplish nothing tactically. 50 rounds that would supply Yamamoto's entire squad for days. But to the Americans, 50 rounds is nothing. An afternoon's amusement. Less than one man's combat load. The psychological impact on the Japanese soldiers is profound. They watch their enemy treat as disposable what they treat as precious. Watch casual abundance confronting desperate scarcity. Watch industrial capacity made visible in the form of bullets fired at tin cans. On the fourth day of observation, the Americans conduct a patrol near the Japanese position. 12 Marines moving through the jungle in loose formation. Yamamoto's squad, hidden in dense foliage, could ambush them, could achieve surprise, could kill perhaps half before the Americans reacted. But the corporal does not give the order, because the Americans carry automatic weapons. At least 2 bars visible plus M1 Garens. And the corporal knows that once the ambush is sprung, the return fire will be devastating. The Americans will not conserve. They will saturate the area with lead. And 7 Japanese soldiers with 20 rounds each cannot win that exchange. The American patrol passes within 30 meters. So close Yamamoto can hear their conversation. One Marine complains about the weight of his ammunition load. Says he is carrying too many magazines. Another jokes that he can spare some if there is contact. The Japanese soldiers remain frozen, silent, watching their enemies walk past. 7 men with rifles, with surprise, with tactical advantage, unable to engage because the firepower disparity is too great. This is what ammunition superiority creates. Not just the ability to win firefights, the ability to move freely, to patrol confidently, to operate without fear of ambush. Because even if ambushed, American firepower can reverse the situation. After the patrol passes, Tanaka whispers we should have hit them, had them cold. The corporal's response is quiet but firm. And then what? We fire our 140 rounds, kill maybe 6 of them, and the survivors call for support. More Marines arrive with more automatic weapons. We die having accomplished nothing except announcing our position. This is not courage. This is mathematics. That night, Yamamoto writes in his notebook again. The act of writing has become therapy, a way to process what he is experiencing. Day 23. We found ammunition, 20 rounds each. The squad celebrated as if we had found gold. Perhaps we had. Gold might be less valuable here than bullets. Today we watched Americans shoot at tin cans for fun. They fired 50 rounds at targets that do not shoot back. 50 rounds for entertainment. Our entire squad has 140 rounds for survival. The Americans patrol near our position. We could have ambushed them but did not. The corporal says engaging them is mathematics, not courage. He is right, but it feels like cowardice. How did we come to this? Hiding from enemies we outnumber, afraid to fight because they have more bullets. I think about the rifle in my hands. The Arisaka is a good weapon, accurate at long range, reliable in jungle conditions, well-crafted, but it fires 1 round at a time. The American bar fires 20 rounds in seconds. Quality does not overcome quantity when the quantity gap is this large. My training emphasized marksmanship. Hours on the range, learning to hit targets at 300 meters. But here, I cannot use that training because firing reveals my position and invites return fire I cannot match. What good is marksmanship when shooting means dying? The Americans do not need marksmanship. They have firepower. They do not aim carefully at individual targets. They aim at areas and saturate them with bullets. Some rounds miss but enough hit. Volume substitutes for precision. And they have the volume. I was told American soldiers were soft, undisciplined, dependent on comfort. But the Marines I watch are professional. They move well, communicate well, fight well. Their equipment is superior. Their supply is unlimited. Their tactics are sound. The only advantage we have is willingness to die. But dying without accomplishing anything is not victory. It is just dying. I understand now what this war is. Japan fighting American production. Spirit facing industry. Training against material. And material is winning. Has always been winning. Will always win. Because you cannot fight factories with courage. He closes the notebook and checks his rifle. 28 rounds in his pouch. Tomorrow they will move to a new position. Continue observing. Continue avoiding contact. Continue surviving on scraps while the Americans feast on abundance. Across the island, Sullivan's squad occupies their perimeter position. The night is quiet. Sullivan lies in his foxhole, the bar beside him, 400 rounds within reach. He is not thinking about ammunition. It is simply there, always there, as reliable as sunrise. He is thinking about home, about Pennsylvania, about the hunting trips with his father. 5 rounds for deer season. Make each shot count. That was the rule. But this is not hunting. This is war. And in war, the rules are different. The side with more bullets wins. Simple as that. Davis walks the perimeter, checking positions. He stops at Sullivan's foxhole. How you doing, Sullivan? Good, Sergeant. Hoping for a quiet night. Davis nods. Quiet is good. But if it gets loud, remember what I told you. Do not conserve. We have the ammunition. Use it. That is our advantage. We can outshoot any enemy in the Pacific. Sullivan understands. The bar is not just a weapon. It is a force multiplier. It is American industrial capacity reduced to 19 pounds of steel and wood. It is the reason a 12-man Marine squad can hold ground against superior numbers. It is the sound that makes Japanese soldiers count their bullets and decide not to fight. Davis moves on to the next position. Sullivan settles back into his foxhole. 400 rounds. Thousands more in supply. Millions more in factories back home. He does not think about Japanese soldiers in the jungle, rationing their ammunition, writing in forbidden diaries about the disparity they face. He does not need to think about them. The ammunition does the thinking. Day 26 brings disaster for Yamamoto's squad. They are moving to a new observation position when they encounter another American patrol. This time there is no choice. The meeting is sudden, unexpected, both sides surprised. The jungle is thick and neither group sees the other until they are 20 meters apart. The corporal reacts instantly. Open fire. Yamamoto brings his rifle up and shoots at the nearest Marine. The round hits the man in the chest and he falls. Yamamoto's first kill of the war. He feels nothing except the need to reload. Around him, his squadmates fire rapidly. Not conserving now. Survival overrides rationing. The Japanese pour perhaps 30 rounds into the American patrol in the first 5 seconds. 3 Marines drop. The others scatter into cover. For a brief moment, Yamamoto thinks they might win this. They had surprise. They drew first blood. They have good firing positions. Then the bars open up and everything changes. That sound. That terrible hammering. 2 automatic rifles firing from different positions, laying down overlapping fields of fire. The volume is staggering. 20 rounds in 3 seconds from each weapon. 40 rounds saturating the jungle around the Japanese position. Trees splinter. Bark explodes. Leaves shred. The air fills with flying debris and the crack of bullets. Yamamoto drops flat, pressing himself into the earth. He cannot return fire because lifting his head means death. The bar fire is not aimed at specific targets. It is aimed at the area where the Japanese are located. Area fire. Suppressive fire. Keeping heads down while the surviving Marines maneuver. Yamamoto hears shouting in English. Tactical commands. The Americans are not panicking despite casualties. They are reacting with trained responses, using the bar fire as cover to flank the Japanese position. The corporal understands the danger. Fall back. Move now. The squad tries to withdraw but movement draws fire. Tanaka rises to run and a burst catches him across the legs. He falls screaming. Another soldier moves to help him and dies in a hail of automatic fire. The mathematics of firepower is brutal and simple. 7 Japanese soldiers with bolt-action rifles against 9 Marines with 2 bars and 7 M1 Garands. The Americans have semi-automatic and automatic weapons. They can fire faster, sustain fire longer, and they have more ammunition. The Japanese advantage of surprise is gone. What remains is industrial capacity versus training. And capacity wins. Yamamoto fires his last round at muzzle flash and begins crawling backwards. He has no more ammunition. His rifle is empty and he has no magazines to reload. Around him, the squad is disintegrating. Some dead, some wounded, some fleeing. The bar fire continues, methodical, professional, devastating. One Marine with a bar can pin down multiple riflemen indefinitely. 2 bars make withdrawal nearly impossible. The corporal appears beside Yamamoto, bleeding from a wound in his shoulder. Go. Get out. Report to command. Tell them about the automatic weapons. Tell them about the ammunition. The Americans have too much. We cannot fight them like this. Yamamoto crawls through the jungle, away from the hammering sound, away from the dying. Behind him, the corporal provides covering fire with his last rounds. Yamamoto does not know if the corporal survives. He does not look back. He crawls for an hour before standing, then runs. Runs through jungle that tears at his uniform, crosses streams without pausing, moves until his lungs burn and his legs give out. When he finally stops, hidden in dense undergrowth, he takes stock. He is alone. His rifle is empty. He has no ammunition, no food, no water, no equipment. He is alive but weaponless. Behind him, his squad is destroyed. 7 men reduced to perhaps 3 survivors by 1 American patrol. Not because the Americans were better trained. Not because they had superior tactics. Because they had 2 automatic weapons and unlimited ammunition. Sullivan watches the corpsmen work on the wounded Marines. 3 hit in the initial Japanese volley. 1 serious, 2 moderate. The serious case is already on a stretcher heading back to the aid station. The medic has morphine, bandages, sulfa powder, whole blood for transfusion if needed. Medical supplies abundant as ammunition. The engagement lasted perhaps 8 minutes. Sullivan fired through 3 magazines. 60 rounds. The other bar gunner fired similar amounts. The riflemen with their M1 Garens contributed steady semi-automatic fire. Total American ammunition expenditure, approximately 250 rounds. They killed or wounded an estimated 5 to 7 Japanese soldiers. Forced the survivors to withdraw. Held the ground. The cost in ammunition is irrelevant. Already a supply runner is moving up with fresh magazines. Sullivan will have his 400 rounds restored within the hour. The tactical calculation is straightforward. Expend ammunition to achieve fire superiority. Use fire superiority to maneuver. Use maneuver to destroy the enemy. Repeat as necessary. Ammunition is not a constraint. It is a tool. Davis surveys the scene. Good work. You kept their heads down while we moved. That is exactly what the bar is for. Sullivan nods, reloading his empty magazines with fresh rounds from stripper clips. The mechanical action is soothing. Pull the clip from the bandolier. Press rounds into the magazine. 20 rounds. Clip the magazine into his pouch. Repeat. One of the younger Marines, his first firefight, looks shaken. Sarge, think we got them all. Davis shrugs. Does not matter. If survivors report back, their commanders learn that attacking us costs ammunition they cannot afford to spend. If they all died, the patrol just disappears and command wonders what happened. Either way, we win. The patrol continues its route. They walk through the area where the Japanese fired from. Blood on leaves. Spent Arisaka casings. A few scattered equipment items dropped during retreat. And something else. A notebook. Sullivan picks it up. Japanese writing covers the pages. He cannot read it, but he recognizes dates, numbers. A diary. Against regulations, but not uncommon. Soldiers write to process combat stress. Davis takes the notebook. Intelligence will want this. Might have useful information. Sullivan thinks about the Japanese soldier who wrote in this notebook. Who counted his bullets. Who watched American convoys with envy. Who died in the jungle because he ran out of ammunition while his enemy had boxes of it. There is no satisfaction in the thought. Just recognition of disparity. The patrol returns to base as evening approaches. Sullivan cleans his bar, oils the action, checks the gas system. The weapon has fired thousands of rounds and will fire thousands more. It is maintained, reliable, supplied. That night, supplies arrive from the rear. Ammunition, rations, water, mail from home. The supply system functions smoothly. Trucks bring material from ships. Ships bring material from America. America produces material faster than it can be consumed. Sullivan receives replacement ammunition for what he expended. 400 rounds again. The weight is familiar, comfortable. This is normalcy. This is the American way of war. Not conserving. Not counting. Not rationing. Producing and consuming in quantities that overwhelm opposition. Across the island, hidden in a cave, Yamamoto shivers through the night. He has found other survivors from scattered Japanese units. One of the soldiers, a veteran of China campaigns, speaks quietly. In China, we fought enemies who had less than us. We had rifles, they had old weapons. We had ammunition, they were desperate. We could win through superior equipment. Here we are the Chinese. The Americans are us. But worse, much worse. Yamamoto understands. The tables have turned. Japan is now the resource-poor nation facing an industrial superpower. And there is no way to win that fight. Not with courage. Not with tactics. Not with spirit. Only production defeats production. And Japan cannot match American production. 3 weeks later, Yamamoto reaches the coast where Japanese forces maintain a small perimeter. The journey nearly killed him. He traveled at night, hid during day, drank from streams, ate whatever he could forage. His uniform is torn, his body emaciated, his rifle rusted and useless without ammunition. The Japanese position is desperate. Perhaps 200 soldiers holding a beachhead, waiting for evacuation ships that may never arrive. They have minimal supplies, almost no ammunition, and face constant American pressure. The commanding officer, a captain named Sato, debriefs Yamamoto. Tell me about the American automatic weapons. You encountered them multiple times. Yamamoto describes the bar, the sound, the rate of fire, the devastating suppressive effect. He explains how one weapon can pin down an entire squad, how 2 weapons can destroy a patrol, how unlimited ammunition makes the weapons unstoppable. Captain Sato listens without expression. When Yamamoto finishes, the officer speaks quietly. We know about the Browning automatic rifle. Intelligence has reported on it since Guadalcanal. We have captured examples. We understand its capabilities. What intelligence cannot explain is the ammunition. American forces fire these weapons as if bullets are unlimited. We calculate they must expend thousands of rounds per engagement. Yet they never seem to run short. How? Yamamoto has thought about this question for weeks. I believe, sir, that American production capacity is beyond what we have been told. One convoy truck carried more ammunition than our battalion has received in 6 months. They waste bullets on target practice and entertainment. This level of abundance suggests production on a scale we cannot match. Captain Sato nods. Tokyo has issued new directives. We are to conserve all ammunition. Fire only at assured targets. Avoid engagement with American automatic weapons. Withdraw rather than fight when outnumbered or outgunned. Yamamoto understands what this means. Japan is conceding the firepower battle, acknowledging that American material superiority cannot be overcome by tactics or courage. The new strategy is survival, not victory. That night, Yamamoto sits with other survivors. They share stories of encounters with American firepower. Every story is the same. Japanese soldiers counting bullets. Americans firing without restraint. Desperation facing abundance. One soldier describes watching an American position receive supply drop. Pallets of ammunition falling from aircraft by parachute. Enough ammunition in one drop to supply a Japanese regiment for months. Delivered to a single company. Another soldier talks about captured American positions. Finding ammunition scattered everywhere. In foxholes, in supply dumps, in vehicles. Loose rounds lying in the dirt. Unwanted. Uncounted. discarded as garbage what Japanese soldiers would treasure as life-saving equipment. The stories paint a consistent picture. America has solved the production problem. They manufacture ammunition in such quantities that waste is acceptable. That casual expenditure is doctrine. That running out is unthinkable. Yamamoto opens his diary. He has kept it through everything, the pages stained and worn. He writes his final entry. Day 47. Reached friendly lines. My squad is gone. 7 men killed by American firepower. I survived by running. No shame in admitting it now. You cannot fight enemies who treat ammunition like water. I understand why we are losing. Not tactics. Not courage. Production. America makes bullets faster than we can shoot them. Makes them faster than we can make them. Makes them in quantities we cannot imagine. This war is decided. Has been decided since it began. The only question was how long until the mathematics became obvious. Now it is obvious. We are fighting American factories, and factories do not tire, do not starve, do not lose morale. They simply produce. He closes the diary for the last time. 6,000 miles away, in Lake City, Missouri, the Lake City Army ammunition plant operates 24 hours a day. 3 shifts of workers, mostly women, produce .30-06 ammunition for the war effort. The plant is one of many across America dedicated to ammunition production. The scale is staggering. Lake City alone produces over 4 million rounds per day. 4 million cartridges manufactured, inspected, packed, and shipped in 24 hours. Other plants produce similar quantities. Frankfurt Arsenal, Twin Cities Army Ammunition Plant, Denver Ordnance Plant. Together, they create an avalanche of ammunition that flows to every theater of war. The process is automated, systematized, optimized for speed and volume. Raw brass enters one end. Finished cartridges exit the other. The workers operate machines, monitor quality, maintain equipment. They do not craft each round individually. They manage industrial processes that craft thousands of rounds per hour. Mary Henderson works the primer insertion line. She is 42, her husband serving in Europe with the Army. She has worked at Lake City for 18 months and can operate her station blindfolded. Primers feed from hoppers. Cartridge cases move down conveyors. Her machine seats primers at a rate of 300 per hour. 12 machines on her line. 3,600 primers per hour. Times 3 shifts. Times quality control acceptance rates. Her line alone contributes over 25,000 finished primers per day. Mary does not think about Japanese soldiers counting bullets. She does not know about Yamamoto or his destroyed squad. She knows her job is important, that soldiers depend on ammunition, that her work matters. But she cannot comprehend the scale. Cannot imagine how her 25,000 primers combine with powder loads and bullets and become the abundance that defines American military operations. The supervisor walks the line, checking production numbers. We are behind quota today. Machine 7 was down for maintenance 2 hours. We need to make up the shortfall. Mary nods and adjusts her pace slightly. Behind quota means producing only 3.8 million rounds instead of 4 million. A shortfall of 200,000 rounds. This shortfall, barely noticeable in Lake City's daily production, equals approximately 10 times the total ammunition available to all Japanese forces on Bougainville. But no one at Lake City knows this comparison. They know quotas and production targets. They know their shift produced X rounds and tomorrow must produce X plus improvement. The strategic impact is invisible to them. The ammunition flows to depots. Depots ship to ports. Ports load onto ships. Ships transport to theaters. Theaters distribute to units. Units issue to soldiers. Soldiers fire at enemies. Enemies die or retreat or surrender. And through it all, Lake City produces 4 million rounds per day, every day without pause. The mathematics are overwhelming. Lake City alone produces enough ammunition in 1 week to supply the entire Japanese military in the Pacific for a month. All American ammunition plants combined produce more in 1 day than Japan produces in a week. This disparity is not the result of better technology. American and Japanese ammunition are similar in quality. The disparity is production volume. America has automated the process, scaled it up, and dedicated resources to it that Japan cannot match. During lunch break, Mary eats a sandwich and reads a letter from her husband. He writes about supply difficulties in Europe, about how they sometimes run short on food or fuel. But he never mentions ammunition shortages, because there are none. The ammunition always arrives. When soldiers fire, replacement ammunition is already en route. When units request resupply, the request is measured in thousands of rounds, not tens. When doctrine calls for suppressive fire, there is enough ammunition to suppress. The production system ensures it. Lake City and its sister plants ensure it. Workers like Mary, operating machines, monitoring quality, meeting quotas, ensure it. They are fighting the war as surely as soldiers in foxholes. Fighting it with production instead of rifles. And production is winning. Back in the Pacific, Sullivan's unit receives orders for a major offensive. They will assault a Japanese-held ridgeline, dislodge defenders, secure the high ground. The briefing includes ammunition allocation. Each rifleman receives 200 rounds. Each bar gunner receives 600 rounds. The squad's total combat load exceeds 5,000 rounds. Additionally, a resupply point will be established 200 meters behind the assault line. Ammunition runners will shuttle fresh supplies forward as needed. The expectation is that ammunition will be expended freely. Davis emphasizes this. Do not conserve. We are not rationing. If you see a position, light it up. If you think you see a position, light it up anyway. We have the rounds. Use them. This doctrine would be impossible without industrial backing. The offensive involves 3 companies, roughly 600 Marines. If each Marine carries 200 rounds average, that is 120,000 rounds for the initial assault. Resupply will likely double that figure. One operation consuming 250,000 rounds. Lake City produces that much in 90 minutes. The assault begins at dawn. Sullivan advances with his squad, the bar heavy in his hands. Japanese positions on the ridge open fire. The distinctive crack of Arisaka rifles. Measured, aim shots. Sullivan drops into cover and returns fire. Not aimed shots. Bursts. 10-round bursts at the muzzle flashes on the ridge. Suppressive fire. Other bars join in. The hammering sound echoes across the landscape. Overlapping fields of automatic fire. The Marines advance under this covering fire. When Japanese defenders try to shoot, bar fire forces them down. When they stay down, Marines move closer. Fire and maneuver, the basic tactic, enabled by ammunition abundance. Sullivan burns through his first magazine. 20 rounds in 10 seconds. He drops the empty, slaps in a fresh magazine, continues firing. The bar is hot, the barrel heating from sustained fire. But the weapon is designed for this. Built to sustain fire. Built for exactly this kind of assault. He fires through his second magazine. Third. Fourth. 80 rounds expended and the assault is 10 minutes old. He is nowhere near worried about running out. His ammunition pouches are heavy with loaded magazines. Behind him, an ammunition runner waits with more. The Japanese fire slackens. Not because they are defeated, because they are conserving ammunition, firing only when they have clear targets, rationing their response. But rationing against abundance is losing strategy. The Marines reach the base of the ridge. Sullivan's squad takes cover behind rocks and continues firing upward at Japanese positions. He can see enemy soldiers occasionally, brief glimpses as they move between cover. He fires at these glimpses, sometimes hits, often misses, does not matter. The volume of fire is overwhelming the defense. A Japanese machine gun opens up from a concealed position. The gun has good fields of fire and pins down an entire platoon. Marines drop into cover, unable to advance. Sullivan watches the gun's tracer fire arc across the landscape. Then he and 2 other bar gunners concentrate fire on that position. 60 rounds in 20 seconds. The sustained fire shreds the vegetation around the machine gun, kicks up dirt, ricochets off rocks. The Japanese gun stops firing. Whether the crew is dead or suppressed does not matter tactically. The gun is neutralized. The platoon advances. This is the calculus of ammunition superiority. 3 American automatic weapons firing 200 rounds can suppress a Japanese machine gun position that would otherwise require mortars or grenades to eliminate. Ammunition substitutes for tactics. Volume substitutes for maneuver. And when you have enough volume, you can afford the substitution. Sullivan has fired through 6 magazines. 120 rounds. He is not halfway through his combat load. The assault continues up the ridge. The hammering of bars never stops. On the ridge, Captain Sato watches the American assault through binoculars. He commands the 200 defenders, and he knows they cannot hold. Not against this. The Americans advance under continuous automatic fire. His soldiers fire back when they can, but each shot exposes them to devastating return fire. His men have perhaps 30 rounds each. 6,000 rounds total for the defense. The Americans are expending that much ammunition every few minutes. Sato has fought since China. He has seen combat in Manchuria, Shanghai, the Philippines. He has commanded soldiers through victories and defeats. But he has never faced this industrial approach to warfare where ammunition is treated as infinite, where tactical problems are solved not with maneuver but with overwhelming firepower. A runner arrives from the left flank. Sir, the machine gun position is suppressed. Crew is alive but cannot return fire. American automatic weapons are targeting the position continuously. Sato nods. Pull the crew back. The gun is useless without ammunition to sustain fire. We have no resupply. The runner leaves. Sato watches the Americans advance closer. They move in bounds. One group fires while another moves. The fire never stops. The covering fire is so intense that his soldiers cannot effectively engage the moving groups. This is American doctrine. Fire superiority through volume. And it works because they have the ammunition to sustain it. Sato's radio operator reports. Sir, battalion command requests status. Can we hold the ridge? Sato considers lying, saying yes, we can hold. But what purpose does that serve? Tell battalion we can hold for perhaps 2 hours. Then we will be overrun or out of ammunition. Probably both. Request permission to withdraw to secondary positions while we still can. The radio operator transmits. They wait for response. Around them, the hammering of American automatic weapons continues. Constant. Relentless. The sound of American production capacity translated into combat power. The response comes. Permission denied. Hold position. Reinforcements are coming. Sato knows reinforcements are not coming. Even if they were, they would not have ammunition. The entire Japanese force on the island is rationing bullets. There is no reserve of ammunition to draw upon. He looks at his soldiers. Young men mostly. Poorly supplied. Inadequately fed. Desperately short of everything except courage. They will fight until they die because orders say to fight. But courage does not overcome firepower. Will does not defeat production. Spirit does not stop bullets. The Americans reach the midpoint of the ridge. Their automatic weapons have suppressed most Japanese positions. Return fire is sporadic, ineffective. Sato's force has expended perhaps half their ammunition. 3,000 rounds fired. Perhaps 50 American casualties inflicted, most wounded rather than killed. Poor exchange rate. The Americans have probably fired 50,000 rounds by now. Their casualty count is low because suppressive fire keeps Japanese soldiers unable to aim effectively. When you fire from cover under continuous enemy fire, accuracy suffers. Training becomes irrelevant. Marksmanship means nothing. Sato picks up his rifle. He has 20 rounds remaining. He will fire them carefully, making each shot count because that is what training dictates. But he knows it will not matter. 20 carefully aimed rounds cannot compete with 20,000 rounds fired to suppress. The mathematics are against him. Have always been against him. Will always be against him. This is not a battle between soldiers. It is a battle between economies. Japanese scarcity versus American abundance. Limited production versus overwhelming output. And in that battle, the side with more ammunition wins. Simple as that. Brutal as that. True as that. Sato aims at an advancing Marine and fires. 1 round. The Marine drops into cover, unharmed. 19 rounds remaining. The American response is instant. 3 automatic weapons concentrate fire on Sato's position. 50 rounds impact around him in seconds. He presses flat, unable to return fire, unable to move. Sullivan reaches the ridge crest. His squad has advanced through continuous fire, and now they occupy Japanese positions. The fighting is close, brutal, decisive. Marines with bayonets and grenades clear bunkers. Japanese soldiers fight with whatever they have. Rifles, swords, entrenching tools. Desperation against material. Sullivan fires his bar at a Japanese soldier emerging from a bunker. The burst catches the man-center mass. He falls. Sullivan continues moving, scanning for threats, finger on the trigger. He has fired through 12 magazines. 240 rounds. His barrel is hot enough to hurt if touched. But the weapon still functions. Still fires. Still delivers that devastating automatic fire that decides close combat. A Japanese officer charges from cover with a sword. The image is surreal, medieval, archaic. A sword against automatic weapons. Sullivan fires. 5-round burst. The officer drops. The sword falls beside him, useless. Beautiful craftsmanship rendered irrelevant by industrial firepower. Davis shouts orders. Clear the bunkers. Check for wounded. Consolidate ammunition. The squad moves through captured positions. They find dead Japanese soldiers, empty cartridge cases, abandoned equipment, and something else. Ammunition pouches on dead soldiers containing only a few rounds. 5 rounds here. 7 rounds there. One soldier has an empty rifle and no ammunition at all. He fought until he ran out, then died weaponless. Sullivan stares at the empty ammunition pouches. These soldiers were fighting with almost nothing, rationing every bullet while Sullivan fired 240 rounds. The disparity is stark, visible, undeniable. This was not a fair fight. This was industrial capacity crushing desperation. Davis examines a captured Japanese position. They were well dug in. Good fields of fire. Competent defensive setup. But they had no ammunition. Look at this. He points to a machine gun position. The gun is intact, functional. Around it are perhaps 50 empty cartridge cases. 50 rounds for a machine gun position defending a ridge approach. We fired that much clearing one bunker. Sullivan nods. The tactical implications are clear. Japanese defenders were not defeated by superior American tactics or courage. They were defeated by ammunition expenditure that made tactics irrelevant. You cannot defend positions when you cannot return fire. Cannot maintain fields of fire when each shot must be rationed. Cannot suppress advancing enemies when you have 50 rounds and they have 5,000. The ridge is secured by mid-afternoon. Casualties are counted. Positions consolidated. Defensive lines established. Sullivan sits in a captured bunker and cleans his bar. The weapon is filthy from sustained fire. Carbon buildup in the gas system. Powder residue everywhere. But it still works. He disassembles it, cleans each part, oils the action, reassembles. The ritual is calming. An ammunition runner arrives with resupply. Sullivan receives 400 fresh rounds, replacing what he expended. His combat load is restored to full, as if the expenditure never happened. As if 240 rounds is trivial. The runner also brings rations, water, mail. Supply is continuous, reliable, abundant. Everything a soldier needs flows forward from the vast American logistical system. That night, Sullivan writes a letter home. He describes the assault, the fighting, the captured ridge. He does not mention the empty Japanese ammunition pouches. Does not write about soldiers fighting with 5 rounds. Does not describe the disparity that made the battle less a contest than an execution. He writes what soldiers write. We are doing our job. We are holding the line. We are winning. All true. But the truth underneath is simpler. We have bullets. They do not. That is why we win. The letter will be mailed, will travel by ship to America, will arrive in Pennsylvania weeks later. His father will read it, will feel pride, will perhaps remember those hunting trips with 5 rounds for deer season. Yamamoto survives the war. He is evacuated from Bougainville during a nighttime withdrawal in early 1944, reaches Rabaul, eventually returns to Japan. He carries his diary through everything, the pages documenting his transformation from confident soldier to defeated survivor. In August 1945, after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan surrenders. Yamamoto is processed as a veteran, receives a small pension, returns to his village. He finds work as a schoolteacher. He does not talk about the war except when students ask. Then he tells them about ammunition, about counting bullets, about watching Americans fire at tin cans, about the terrible hammering of automatic weapons, about dying with empty rifles. The students do not understand. They think war is about courage and honor and sacrifice. Yamamoto tries to explain. War is about production. Who makes more? Who supplies better? Who has ammunition when the shooting starts? They look at him with confusion. He shows them his diary, the pages yellowed and stained. Shows them the entry about counting 11 rounds. Shows them the calculations of American convoy loads. Shows them the final entry about fighting factories. Some students understand. Most do not. How can they? They have never counted bullets while enemies fired without limit. Never fought with scarcity against abundance. Never learned that courage means nothing when the other side has unlimited supply. Years later, in 1963, an American veteran visits Japan. A cultural exchange program brings former soldiers together. The American is Jack Sullivan, retired, working as a machinist in Pennsylvania. By chance, he meets Yamamoto at a school where both are giving talks to students. They speak through a translator. Yamamoto asks, "Did you fight in the Pacific?" Sullivan nods. "Bougainville. Marine Corps. I was a bar gunner." Yamamoto goes still. "The Browning automatic rifle. I heard that sound many times. It is a sound I will never forget." Sullivan sees something in the Japanese man's eyes. Recognition. Understanding. "You were there. On the island." Yamamoto nods. "I was there. I counted 11 rounds while your squad fired 500. I watched my friends die because we had nothing to shoot back with. That is when I knew we had lost. Not lost the battle. Lost the war. Because you could waste ammunition on target practice and we could not spare one bullet." Sullivan is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "I never thought about it like that. We just had what we had. We used it. That was the job." Yamamoto smiles without humor. "Yes, you used it. That was enough. You did not need better tactics or better soldiers. You just needed more bullets. And you had more bullets than we could imagine." They stand together, 2 old men remembering a war decided by production capacity. Yamamoto thinks about Lake City, though he does not know its name. About factories producing 4 million rounds per day. About women operating machines that defeated Japanese soldiers thousands of miles away. About industrial systems that determine outcomes before battles are fought. Sullivan thinks about the empty ammunition pouches. About Japanese soldiers with 5 rounds defending against Americans with 500. About disparity so vast that skill became irrelevant. They shake hands. The translator says they are both survivors, both veterans, both men who did their duty. But Yamamoto knows the deeper truth. Sullivan survived because America had ammunition. Yamamoto survived because he learned to run when counting bullets reached 0. Different survivals. Different wars. Same mathematics. Production over courage. Supply over skill. Abundance over spirit. The lesson of empty rifles and hammering bars. The sound that decided the Pacific War. Not strategy. Not tactics. Just the terrible arithmetic of 500 rounds versus 11.